In Chapter 2, we were introduced to a new character named Kissy Missy, who initially looked like Huggy Wuggy, but then she actually ended up helping us, which was a big surprise at the time. Then in Chapter 3, when we leave Home Sweet Home, she tackles us like it was the NFL Super Bowl, bro. But in Chapter 4, now that she's beat up, missing her arm, and all alone in the ventilation block, what's actually gonna happen to her in Chapter 5? Well, let's start with a little bit of Kissy's backstory first. In one of the notes, we get a closer look into what she was like after her transplant. When Kissy was transported to the shelf or the prison, she displayed a lot of stress, including acute stress response, which is basically your fight or flight reflex, which is normal, but she experienced it a lot. She was under a lot of emotional distress and constantly rubbing the fur on her arms. However, after enough time, it seems like she got better, but she would still rub the fur on her arms, as we even see her do this in Chapter 3. Meaning that although she may have gotten a little bit better from back then, she still is an extremely nervous little girl just inside of an 18-foot tall monster's body. And so with everything that's happened since Chapter 1 all the way until Chapter 4, Kissy has been under a lot of stress. Even her tackling us in Chapter 3 could have been her fight response, since we went into her territory and she didn't trust us yet. But when Poppy came and told her that we're not an enemy, Kissy looked so nervous for pretty much the entire time after that. She was rubbing her arms, folding her arms, and even grabbing onto her leg while sitting down. And when Ollie revealed himself to have been the prototype this entire time, Kissy started shaking like I have never seen before, bro. She was terrified, petrified, mortified. However, because we were stuck in a giant ventilation block, there was nowhere to run or fight, as the prototype was outside and in complete control of the situation. But right after Poppy left, the prototype exploded bombs underneath us, with Kissy trying to save us, but it ended up tearing her arm off and we fell down to the bottom of the factory. And now that Kissy is completely alone with both Poppy abandoning her and us being in the labs, what could she do in Chapter 5? Well, there are a few possibilities. The first thing we have to keep in mind is that Kissy is completely alone. There is literally no one for her to go to because Poppy just abandoned her and we're stuck with Huggy. So even if Kissy managed to escape the ventilation block, she's on her own, unless there's some others that we don't know about. But as far as I'm concerned, it seems like every single toy in Safe Haven was killed by the explosion, with Doey then being killed by us. But it does seem like Kissy can at least fight for herself, because in the end of Chapter 3, when we go down the elevator with Poppy, Kissy was attacked by something. And in Chapter 4, about an hour into the game, Kissy pulls us into a crack in the wall, and we see that she's beaten up and even burnt in some places. So whatever attacked her may have done some damage, but it seems that she was able to fend off whoever or whatever this was in order to escape back down the elevator with Poppy. So in Chapter 5, Kissy could try to escape and fight for herself. But the thing is, with how terrified she was of the prototype, it seems like this would be the absolute last thing that she'd ever try to do. Because if she was all on her own with us at the very bottom of the factory in the labs, then she is cooked. I mean, the prototype killed Catnap with one fell swoop, bro. So if Kissy thinks that she's gonna be able to survive on her own for the next however many years of her life, then she doesn't know what she's doing. But another possibility is that the prototype will kill her at the very beginning of the chapter, because during the phone call, Ollie reveals that he's been the prototype this entire time. But shortly after, we hear the prototype's exact footsteps right outside of the ventilation block, which seems to be him planning the bombs in order to kill us.
Yes, there was.
But that was a very long time ago. Let me tell you what comes next.
I'm going to
Come up there.
and I'm going to
Find you. Your collaborators. The few you have left, they will be dealt with.
And when the bombs eventually go off, we fall down the hole while Kissy seems to stay up at least for an extra minute or so, because when we go into the labs, it seems that Kissy still hasn't come down. So if she stayed in the ventilation block with the prototype literally right outside of it, then Kissy would be dead almost immediately. The prototype already has a huge advantage with Kissy being beaten up and now missing her arm from trying to pull all of our weight, our fat weight, meaning it's possible that chapter 5 could be Kissy's last chapter. But what seems to be the most likely theory is that Kissy will come down the hole with us and have some sort of interaction with Huggy, whether it be a fight or she could possibly even calm Huggy down. And I say this because of two reasons. The first is that there is no way Kissy will be able to survive for more than a few weeks if she's all alone and the prototype would try to hunt her. And the second reason is that when we tear her arm off, she would have to do a one-arm pull-up in order to get back up. And since we saw her fail to flip a lever in chapter 2, then I seriously doubt that she's gonna be able to do this kind of pull up. I'm 6'11", 312 pure muscle, and I can't even do that. So although she might try to do it slowly, she's gonna have to come down the hole and face Huggy either in a good way or a bad way, which leads me to my side theory of Huggy being Kissy's attacker back in the end of chapter 3, because we don't hear Kissy's attacker, but we just hear her screams, which are pretty much identical to Huggy's, just more high pitched.
We need to be cautious. There's something... What? What's she doing? This is... No! No! We're coming! Just hold on!
So it's possible it was him who attacked her. So although it seems like we don't hear Huggy's deeper screaming, it's possible that due to the way that the sound was echoing, it could just be hard to tell, and Huggy was actually the one to attack Kissy, which would then be a very bad thing for her, because although Kissy might try to help us in the beginning of chapter 5, this could get her killed, as her and Huggy are both injured, making the fight pretty much a 50-50, and this seems to be the most likely theory, because I don't see Kissy trying to escape and fight off the prototype all by herself. And I don't see Mob killing off Kissy when we can't see her, cause now that she's been with us for about 2 chapters, if they kill her off screen, the fans are most likely gonna uninstall the game and never come back ever again. And Mob knows not to upset the fans because of what happened with Piano Source. I am still thinking about that. But because of the music video posted by Mob on their YouTube channel, I'm thinking that Kissy might actually be able to calm Huggy down, because in one of the scenes, we see Kissy and Huggy standing next to each other, and then we even see them laying on the grass looking up at the sky of plate care together, leading us to believe that they probably had some sort of relationship in the past. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, subscribe, and click on this video right here.